And we're today 26 days to Porto. And so we started the group chat to start working on things. And it's kind of a good thing we did because we figured out that some of us are arriving and may not have our hotel room figured out yet. So we've got a bunch of things to figure out. But one of the things I thought we would do is we would start working on tourism and those kinds of things. And so this is what I did this time. I Googled tourist scams in Porto. And so Google, the internet, Google gave me this list of 9 common tourist scams in Porto for us to look out for. So here they are. Let's go through them. Number one, bridge jumpers. There is a bridge that is a tourist attraction. And I thought I would have the name of the bridge here, but I don't. It's Dome. I can't remember the bridge name. I'll have to look that up for you. But on that bridge, there will be young guys will they'll stand on the bridge and they will see if they can get people to give them money to jump in the water. And usually they ask for 1 or 2 euros, and when they get enough, they usually spend, and it says they usually spend about 15 minutes trying to get as many people as possible to give them 1 or 2 euros so that and then they will jump into the river. And which, I mean, in some ways that just seems like good, clean fun, right? And what's 1 or 2 euros? However, some of these guys, some of these guys are working with other guys, and some of them maybe aren't working with other guys, but they said that very often pickpockets will be nearby. And so they take advantage of people being distracted and watching the water and watching these guys and not paying attention to pickpocket. And if you think about it, I mean, if you're getting out money and handing it to them, you're also showing them where you're keeping your money. So you got to watch out for that. If you want to give them a euro or two, I guess that's all right. But think about where you have your valuables and be aware of other people. So that's scam number one. Scam number two, fake parking assistance. Unofficial attendants may claim you have to pay them instead of using the ticket machines, leading to fines. So the way I understand it is that a lot of these street parking, there'll be like a machine ever so often, and you go to the machine to pay for your parking. And so these guys will be lining on the street and they will say, no, 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 or the machine is broken, or no, that's not right, or whatever. You have to pay me, and get you to pay them instead. And then you can end up with a parking ticket. And so you pay them the money, they run off. And so here's the thing is they said sometimes the police are aware of it, and sometimes the police even kind of encourage it because they end up getting fines. And so they end up getting money out of the deal in a way too. So I don't like to hear that about the police, but there are a couple of them where they say the police sometimes kind of help this along if there are tourists involved. So that's number two, fake parking assistance. Number three, pickpockets. Pickpockets is going to come up a lot. And so in crowded areas, especially the tram lines, if you're going to ride the trams, and I've seen a lot of stuff in the travel guides about riding the trams, and it's fun, it's things that people like to do, but they say that you really got to watch the pickpockets there. Also, although that's not in here, I heard that at the train station, that you really have to watch things at the train station. So tram stations, train stations, trams, watch out for pickpockets. Rose sellers. So this is something, and they say that this is common really kind of throughout Europe. I guess I've seen this before. I don't know. But rose sellers, they say that people are wandering around with roses, and they hand you a rose and they say, "Oh, would you accept this rose from me like it's a gift?" But then they want to be paid for it, and they will pressure you, and they especially like to find couples. They especially like to find couples and try to shame the gentleman into paying something for the lady. They try to make it look like, they shame him into saying, "Oh, you don't care about your wife or your girlfriend or whatever," and they try to really make you look bad in front of your spouse. So you got to watch out for those. Maybe, yeah, I mean, I guess there are a couple of options there. One, you can say, "You told me it was free," and you just don't pay them. And if they try to make you look bad, then you just ignore them, or you just don't accept it in the first place. "No, thank you. We're allergic." Something along those lines. Cheap drinks. All right. So they said that a lot of bars will advertise very, very inexpensive drinks. And when you get there, the drinks are either very, very small, or they're really watered down. And they say that, in general, and they kind of especially are targeting tourists, because they know that the tourists probably aren't going to be coming back anyway, so they're not really too concerned if it upsets you or something along those lines. They say, yeah, they are very inexpensive, but they are also very, very small or very, very watered down. And so and one of the other things is, this is another one of those things where apparently the police, they kind of help people target tourists, which is crazy, but that's what they say. Illicit substances. And this is another one they said in particular that the police kind of help some of these guys. What they do is I wouldn't say that they do anything illegal, but they do help point out tourists to them. They help them identify who the tourists are. So this is a little bit confusing. I don't 100% understand this. So they say that in Portugal, they have completely decriminalized um, all, all, all drugs, everything else. And I believe the year was since 2011. And which is kind of what I don't completely understand here is they said they have decriminalized it, but that does not mean it is legal. And so I think what that means is that it's still illegal. If you do it, I think by decriminalizing it, I think what that means is that you won't go to jail, or you won't, none of those things may happen, but you can be charged fines. And so they said that tourists in particular, a lot of them will come there and they think that and it's, they're selling out in the open. It seems, like nobody cares, nobody is watching, and therefore it's got to be okay, right? And so they will sell you these things for you to use, and it's illegal. And so tourists will buy this stuff, and then they may, start using whatever substance they bought. I'm assuming we're talking primarily about pot or something like that, but I don't know. Who knows? And then they get a ticket or a fine for doing so. So the tourists don't know that it's illegal, and so anyway, uh, don't do drugs. That's just a good policy, no matter what. It's just a really good policy. Don't do drugs. Taxi scams. All right. So here's the thing: is they say that drivers may overcharge you by avoiding using the meter or by taking longer routes. And so they say, when you get in, if you're going to use a taxi, you need to make sure they start the meter right away. And it's good if you can to have some idea where you're going so that you can have some say over the route. But even better than that, they said really it's probably a better idea to just use Uber. Uber is apparently available and you can use it that way. And when you're getting in the car what you're going to pay. So you don't have to worry about getting scammed that way. So Uber over taxis. Fake tickets. So vendors will get tickets. They will get like either invalid or expired tickets for things that people like to do as tourists, for wine tastings, boat tours, things like that. And they will tell you, hey, I'm going to sell you this ticket, and you buy the ticket, but the ticket is not valid. And so they say tourists in particular, this is a big scam for them. And so it's like you really need to make sure if you're buying any of these things, you're buying them at official spots, not just from somebody off the street. You want to be able to go to a ticket booth or some official place to buy them and not just buy them on the street. So you got to watch out for that. And the last thing is Euronet's ATMs. Now, I am not familiar with Euronet. I don't know. But apparently there are ATMs like there are, anywhere. And these are apparently throughout Europe, Euronet. And so the thing about Euronet, and I assume that it's a real company, but they charge super, super high transaction fees. The transaction fee to get your money or do whatever can be 20, 25%. And so people don't know that. They just see an ATM, they assume it's fine. So one of the things they say is if you're looking for ATMs, if you're going to use an ATM, look for the ATMs and maybe you're in a situation where the only option to you is a Euronet ATM. And if so, I guess maybe that's just what you have to do. However, if you have a choice, maybe you should look around a little bit. They said if you go to actual banks, you go to some of these things and use their machines or use them, that's a safer bet than just using an ATM you're not familiar with. And it says in particular you want to look for Euronet ATMs. You do not want to use them unless you have to. And they said it's just I don't know that we could call it a scam necessarily, but they say the fees are very, very high, and you should just be aware of that. If you withdraw money, you're probably going to have a very large fee associated with that. So that is 9 scams from the internet there in Porto, Portugal, that tourists need to be aware of. And so we're going to keep this with us. I'm probably going to put it with my passport to review. Maybe I'll review it on the plane so that we are aware of these things. And hopefully, that can ruin your trip. Someone steals your cell phone, someone steals your wallet, someone steals your passport. Oh my gosh, what a headache. So we have to be prepared. We have to know what might happen. So that's my thing for tourist scam. And that ends 26 days until Porto. And so anyway, if you are enjoying this, maybe you can share it with a friend or someone who you think might have fun with this. You might even subscribe and follow along if you want. I have a playlist of the 50 days to Porto. Also, we're doing 50-day challenges. I have one 50 days of fitness, 50 days of trash. 50 days of trash was a pretty popular one. This one is kind of interesting as we're sort of doing it. It's really kind of all over the place, but it seems like the ones that people are liking the most have to do with language learning and kind of learning some things about Portuguese, which reminds me, excuse me a minute, I got to go get my book for our Portuguese word of the day. And give me just a second. I'll be right back. All right. And for today, we're going to say imagina, imagina. And they say lots of times that's the I is left off and they just say imagina, imagina. So, and it does, so, I read that and I thought, oh, it means imagine, imagine, which actually, literally, that is what it means. It literally means imagine. But it is used in Brazil as kind of saying, you're welcome. So if someone says to you, obrigado, or obrigada, obrigado, which means thank you in Portuguese, instead of saying ginada, they might say ginada, but they might say imagina, 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 imagina. And so that would mean you're welcome in Portuguese, at least in Brazil. I don't know. I'm really not at all sure about any of this stuff in Portugal. We're going to find out. That's it, my friends. And that, I think, where are we? I think day 26, 26 days and less than 4 weeks. And we will be at my nephew's wedding. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.